welcome to this live reading from Brick and Darkness by J.L. Sullivan, and this is presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Chapter 1. My phone glowed in the dark, 45 minutes past curfew. Our neighborhood wasn't exactly the safest in the city, so Mom didn't like it when I walked home by myself after 9 p.m., especially when she worked late. But I was so close to passing level 40 in Archer Annihilation, I couldn't have torn myself away any earlier without being a horrible friend to Jason. Besides, I deserved the time to zone out after another mandatory hour with the school counselor, even though I hadn't had one of my episodes, as Mom called them, in over a year. Still a block away from my building, I stopped abruptly. What the hell? I squinted to see through the fog crawling near the ground. A man, probably homeless, sat on my apartment's concrete stoop like he'd set up camp right in front of the entrance. That's bold. In some buildings, the doorman would have removed him, but we didn't have a doorman. Instead, we had an entrance with a lock that didn't work half of the time. I started forward with cautious steps, straining to make out the details of my building's still shadowy visitor. Maybe he wasn't homeless. I'd always fantasized something big would happen to me, like in a comic book. Something life-changing, like developing a superpower, inheriting an island nation, or finding out I came from another planet. But I never envisioned my something big might arrive by way of a creepy, homeless-looking dude. Closer to my building, his image sharpened as the streetlights radiated off his silhouette like a faded halo. Wispy tufts of white hair sprouted out of his head and glowed under the smog-filtered light. His clothes were pretty clean for being homeless, but sloppy like he'd recently lost weight. And I couldn't put my finger on something odd about the color of his coat. As I stepped up to the entrance, it hit me. The reddish brown of the coat matched the brick of my building exactly. Frayed threads of the cloth even gave it a textured appearance as if the man materialized out of the brick itself. He stared straight ahead, studying the closed thrift store across the street. I did a double take, but Sally's second hand remained dark and empty. His concentrated focus made him oblivious to my approach, which thankfully allowed me to avoid eye contact. I slipped by him and up the cement stairs. Of course, the lock on my building's front door chose that moment to work, denying me a quick escape. As I fumbled with my key to unlock it, the man's voice rasped. "Can you help me?" Ugh. I ignored him. He just wanted money. So much for my something big. "Please," his pained voice groaned. Against my better judgment, I glanced over my shoulder. Neck bones popped as his head rotated toward me, his face eclipsing the rays of the streetlight. His irises were dull purple, glazed over with a foggy film, and deep-set wrinkles radiated from the corners of his eyes like arrows drawing attention to them. A shudder caused the keys to slip from my hand and clank on the ground. My face burned with shame that the poor man's appearance had startled me. My rudeness would have disappointed Mom. "I'm sorry, but really," I snagged my keys. His hand slithered out of the brick-colored sleeve as his arm rose, trembling as he strained to hold the weight of his own limb. Gloved in loose, veiny skin, his skeleton hand had yellowed fingernails so overgrown they grew in on themselves like curly birthday ribbons. As his fingers unfurled, he revealed a ring nestled in his palm. It was large, too large. The ring resembled the toy jewelry Jason's sister played with, or something from a Halloween costume. Grimy gold with a single dull purplish jewel that matched his eyes. His hand trembled under the heaviness of the ring. "Take it." Shifting my backpack to my other shoulder, I took it. "What is this?" The corners of his thin lips curled into a grin as a gust of warm, dry wind cut through the chilly October night and swirled around me. Leaves and litter scooted along the street and in the gutters. I just accepted a gift from some creeper outside of my building. Something every little kid knew better than to do. Who knows where that ring came from, but before I could return it, his hand smoothly retracted into his sleeve and his arm lowered. "Greg Allen." The ambient rumble of cars on the surrounding streets muffled his voice. "The ring is for him." The blood drained from my head like during one of my episodes, and the ring grew as heavy as it had appeared in the old man's palm. Greg Allen? He nodded, neck bones creaking and popping. That's my dad. Ah, he exhaled. Superb. Then you will give it to him. It is a gift. He showed me kindness years ago. My time in this world is expiring. If Greg actually knew this guy, the ring made a bizarre thank you gift. Why are you looking for Greg here? He closed his eyes as he spoke. I searched for Allens in this neighborhood and located this building. You happened to be the first person to answer my plea. I swallowed, vowing no more conversations with homeless guys. Served me right, though the odds of him asking me about Greg were 1 in a million, or at least 1 in however many people lived in my building. I'm sorry, but he's not here. Greg's never lived here. But you said, yeah, he's my dad, but he doesn't live here. Do I need to explain every detail? My voice got louder. I didn't owe this weirdo an explanation. Ah, he exhaled again, deflating. Then it is yours. Time will not afford me the luxury to continue my search. A woman in a long black coat glanced from the old man to me as she hurried down the sidewalk, but quickly averted her eyes when I noticed. Probably thankful she'd avoided the old man herself. But if he had roped her in, she wouldn't have known Greg Allen. What would he have done then? I don't think I want it. I extended my hand and the ring back to him, holding it between my thumb and forefinger. While I'd always wanted to learn more about Greg for some reason, the ring didn't seem like the way to do it. Something about the old man felt off. Please. His sad gaze bored into me. You can sell it. It is valuable. A vivid image of moving out of the apartment and into a nicer one flashed through my mind. An apartment with a pool and home theater, one with a doorman who kept away homeless dudes, in a neighborhood where Mom didn't worry about me walking home alone. I pulled the phone out of my pocket. 9:55. No time to keep arguing with him. I needed to get inside before she got home. Okay, thank you. I have to go. He nodded. Your father was a kind and noble man. He closed his purple eyes in reverence, as if conjuring up fond memories of Greg. When his eyes didn't open again, it left me like an idiot staring at an old man who may have fallen asleep sitting up. Thanks for this, I guess. Dropping the ring into my pocket, I hurried to unlock the door to my building and shouldered it open. I didn't look back at the old man, not wanting to risk him talking to me again. Past the elevator, I skipped every other step in the stairwell, including the broken one. The black scuff marks on the light gray walls zipped by until I reached the 3rd floor. The old man had to be at least 40 years older than Greg, but he said they were friends. Close enough that he came back while dying to thank Greg for being noble. To give him a gaudy piece of costume jewelry as a gift he claimed was valuable. Inside our apartment, my backpack smacked on the hardwood floor after I flung it into my room, and I headed to the living room, turning on the lights as I went. I pressed my forehead against the chilled glass and scanned the stoop below, then the street. No, old man. As I dug into my pocket to re-examine Greg's thank you gift, Mom rounded the corner of our street. She walked home alone after 9 p.m. all the time, but whenever I pointed that out, she said coming home from work didn't count. The living room looked like I'd just walked in the door. Snatching the remote, I flipped on the TV, got a glass of water in the kitchen, and skidded down the hallway to my room. Lights on, water glass on my nightstand, I kicked off my shoes and plopped onto my bed. I snagged a comic book from the floor and rolled onto my back as Mom's keys jingled outside of our door. Bax, Mom called. Her keys rattled on the table as the door clicked shut behind her. Hey, I said the word soft and slow, pretending to be absorbed in my reading. In my room. Her footfalls reached my door before she did. She leaned against the white door frame to slip off her shoes one at a time. Super crazy at Zaya's candles tonight. I smiled, envisioning mad rushes of people fighting with each other, desperate to grab up spiced and floral scented candles at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday night. Mom pulled her chestnut hair, the same color as mine, back into a ponytail. She kept it long just past her shoulders. Jason's fun? Jason's. Boring. The excitement happened after I came home. Fine. The open comic book rested on my chest. Mrs. Franklin said to tell you hi. They want us to come over for dinner soon. Oh, and we finally finished Archer Annihilation. That's great, hon. She attempted enthusiasm, but sounded tired thanks to back-to-back shifts and 2 jobs. Besides, she didn't appreciate the hard work required to master a game like Archer Annihilation. The ring in my pocket poked my thigh as if nudging me. I should tell her about it. More importantly, I should tell her about our visitor. But anything regarding Greg always sunk her mood. Who wanted a reminder of the man who left her to raise a 2-year-old alone? After working a double shift, she didn't need to be upset. And if I told her about the ring, she'd demand to see it. She might make me toss it out. I couldn't do that. Not yet. At 6 or 7, I found an old comic book in a box of Christmas decorations called The Haunting of the Ravines, Shade Slayer, number 276. When I asked her about it, she told me Greg collected comic books and must have forgotten it when they separated. I kept it, but could see by the look on her face that keeping something of his hurt her. And I'd innocently stumbled into the comic book. A man with overgrown nails and purple eyes who stalked our building waited for Greg hadn't given it to me. The ring was way different. No way she'd give this memento the same leniency as Shade Slayer. But finding out if Greg had any older friends might help me figure out his connection to the strange man. If a connection even existed at all, which I still couldn't get my head around. Did Greg have any close friends? As soon as the words left my mouth, I cringed. Her body tensed and her face muscles strained. After a pause, she shook her head. A couple of electrician buddies? Why? Not helpful. I blew off my question for her benefit. Just curious. So anyway, she changed the subject. I took a shift tomorrow night after committing to Friday night. That means every night this week. We could use the money. Her face fell with guilt over working too much. I wished she'd stop torturing herself. She did the best she could. It's fine, Mom. Really, I'll hang with Jason or something. Her smile dripped with an apology, though she didn't say anything. Seriously, no big deal. Besides, it's hard to keep up my drug habit with you around so much, you know? She didn't laugh. For real. It's all good. Mom sighed. How about a movie night on Saturday? Order pizza? You know it's my turn to pick the movie, right? I smirked. Her head fell back and she talked to the ceiling. Right, well, then I'll prepare for a violent movie with too much cussing. Hey, now, I wagged my finger. I sat through that horrible romantic comedy where the dude never wore a shirt. She couldn't stifle her grin. It's hot in Florida. At least there weren't any love scenes. Agreed. Well, as tired as I am, I'm going to have a glass of wine, then go to bed. My shift at the hotel isn't until 10 a.m. tomorrow. I'm sleeping in. She shook her fist in the air triumphantly. I smiled. Sounds good. Night, hun. She eased my door shut. Love you. Night, Mom. Love you. After a minute, voices from the TV floated into my room as she turned up the volume and changed the channel. Exhausted from the long day and weird night, I undressed and pulled the chain on my lamp, then crawled under the covers. In the dark, the man with the long nails and purple eyes materialized in my mind. Definitely not an electrician buddy of Greg's and too old to be his father. Grandfather? No. He said, old friend. Reaching over the side of my bed, I dug around for the ring in my wadded-up jeans. It clinked as I placed it on my nightstand to stare at it. A thank you gift for Greg that's now mine. It'd be the second thing of his that I owned. The old man said the ring held some value, but I bet I could sell the comic book for more. The jewel began emitting a subtle purple glow. A strange sound rose behind me, a growl, low and deep, like a gigantic dog threatening an enemy. Guttural and buried underneath the throaty rumble came my name. Bax. I rolled over in bed, jerking the covers with me. I searched the empty, dark room, but found nothing out of the ordinary. What did I expect to see? The sound stopped as suddenly as it started. Only the distant television disrupted the silence. The purple jewel went dark again. It must have been my imagination. You're a freak, I muttered to myself as I pulled the covers up. I closed my eyes but couldn't fall asleep right away, thinking about the old man.